You're now listening to the Shift Training Show, where we're focused on positively impacting the quality of human interaction, and we're exploring how to do that through personal development and holistic health. I'm your host, Law.
I am your co-host, Vaughn.
All right, and today we're going to be talking about 3 topics. The first one we're going to be starting with is blame. So basically, avoiding consequences is delaying what we're aiming for.
Yeah, I think for the most part, most people are using blame to avoid discomfort and that feeling of, feeling of shame, guilt, and responsibility. Now, blame could feel like it's good in the moment, but that's basically protecting our ego, right? So it's a dangerous way to live, and because we're not learning anything. So a good analogy of this is if you think of turning down a volume of a smoke alarm instead of checking the fire, right? So the analogy shows that even though the noise might go down or you might completely eliminate it, but it's still there. If you never address it, then it might get worse. And a good story for me as an example is back in college, I have this philosophy professor, and to be honest, and he wasn't the best. He wasn't great at explaining things, and 80 to 90% of my classmates failed the class. So, well, in this moment, I could have just blamed the professor or accept my F or failure. But what I did is I took responsibility. I studied, I asked questions, and I ended up getting an A. So blaming, the moral of the story, right? So blaming feels a temporary relief, but it leads to stagnation.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. That's a great example. Yeah, I think, again, seeking that temporary relief or redirection of that energy, not being able to directly handle that is actually disempowering. And when we try to blame, basically avoid the consequences of what we're doing, we're reducing our capacity to problem solve. We're reducing our ability to figure out what's actually going on. Blame, I think there's a little nuance where people think blame and fault and responsibility all go together, like saying it's not my responsibility, meaning it's someone else's fault. Mm-hmm. And that in itself is blame, but it doesn't matter whose fault it is. Are you responsible for the outcomes that you want in your life, or are you not going to be responsible? Do you want someone else to be responsible for your well-being, or do you want to actually be in control of your life? I think that's something to keep in mind, but I think you nailed it right on the head. If we are blaming, it feels better in the short term, but we're ultimately avoiding our ability to get to positive outcomes.
To grow. Hey, what's up, everybody? So today I want to introduce to you a supplement called OptiGreens. So this is by First Form. It's an amazing supplement. If you are someone like me who don't eat a lot of greens, this is going to help you with your digestive system, sleep, and boost your energy. So if you're interested, click on the link in the description and let's get back to the show. Yeah, exactly.
100. Okay, cool. Anything else before we move on?
I think that will be it for that.
All right, perfect. Short and sweet. We're going to get to our next topic. The next topic is going to be emotional resilience. So it isn't just a learned skill, it's an earned skill, meaning it's perishable. A lot of people seem to forget that skills that you learn, that you acquire, when you don't use them, you lose them. Very familiar with that idea. Vaughn, what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think the way I would define emotional resilience is your ability to withstand or sit on the hard conversation and hard emotions, but still manage to move forward, take action. So I noticed for myself, that growth happens after that hard conversation or that hard emotion, embracing that feeling of it doesn't feel good, that discomfort. Like, for example, if I feel disrespected and I don't put any boundaries or set any boundaries or I didn't speak up, I feel regret after, and I feel like I'm not becoming the person that I want to be. So I learned that in order to have a healthy relationship, I think you need to be willing to face that consequence of having hard conversation, because that's what's going to build that relationship, that connection. And I think a good analogy of this is emotional resilience, if you don't use it, it stays weak. And then if you use it, it gets stronger. So I think another thing that I can add to this is, and I'm guilty of this because I read a lot of emotional resilience, but that doesn't actually help you. So emotional resilience is earned through experience.
Awesome. I would like to add a caveat to what you said. I think that the books help you to understand what you need to practice. So if you have no idea what to practice, some people are completely lost and they don't know what to do. But for you, you're at the part where it's, I know what to do, I'm not doing it, but when I do it, then things are better. So I would say the books are a good stepping stone, but it's only step one, but it can't fix the problem for you. Something like that.
Spot on. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I would like to add on to that for sure. It's like avoiding difficult emotions basically equals a lack of practice. Like you said, like it can be stronger or it can be weaker. Are you practicing or are you not practicing? So you mentioned before about when you avoid those things, you feel like you're not becoming the person you need to become. And that includes growth, right? So if we are not taking the opportunity to practice things that, for example, boundaries. If we think of our future self as someone who is more capable of deploying boundaries and honoring our own boundaries that we create with ourselves, every time we miss a chance to practice, then we're going to feel like we missed the mark. But if it's a skill we don't care about, like I don't feel guilty when I don't play the guitar. I love the guitar. But when I don't play the guitar, because I don't have a strong association with that, so I don't feel so bad about it. But the areas where I will definitely feel like I missed it is if I see an opportunity to help somebody and I don't do it. They're right in front of me, I have the capacity and I don't do it. There will be a discussion in my head later on about, man, why didn't I do that? And what can I do next time? And how can I do it better? I'll have that whole internal monologue if I don't do it. And that will be because in the moment I chose to avoid a difficult emotion or not act on something that was calling me.
Yeah, I think it's very important to not miss that reps because it's your opportunity to get better.
Yeah, I think an opportunity for more positive emotion too. Even if getting better is, we talk a lot about that because we're obviously into like personal development. We're very growth minded. But even if your goal is just to feel better, you miss the opportunity to legitimately feel better on a consistent basis because you didn't practice the skill that would lead to you consistently feeling better.
Spot on.
All right, boom. Anything else we want to drop for emotional resilience?
That would be it.
All right, cool. We're gonna move on to our third and final topic for today. Today, the last topic is about showing appreciation. Now, I'm gonna read this verbatim because we have this down, but it does a lot more for connection than you may think. It does a lot more. And it's always good to lead with appreciation and gratitude because that opens doors. You and I have had that talk before where we talked about where feeling guilty or feeling bad for someone being inconvenienced or going out of their way for something. And, you know, if the first reaction is, I never wanted it to be that way. I don't mean to make you feel that way. I don't want it to be that way. Versus starting with, I know this was tough, or I know this was an inconvenience for you. I know this was, but thank you so much for doing this because I really appreciate it. Because of what you did, I'm able to do this. Basically to re-edify or support or acknowledge that person's effort or sacrifice to give or willingness to share. It might just be how they operate. That might just be their heart. But if your response generally is to almost say no or refuse it, you not only bind yourself up and create some weird energy between you guys, like weird disconnect, right?
Yeah.
But you also block their blessing. You block their ability to continue in that energy of giving.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is also a skill that not many people have. So when someone is showing some appreciation, some gratitude, I think it's okay to accept those and just have a perspective of, yeah, it's okay, it's good. Just show appreciation.
That's it. I think that's so important. I think it took me a long time to learn how to receive. I generally like to give more than I take, but sometimes people just bless you in a way that maybe you can't even match that capacity of giving. And it might be at a time when you really need it. And you just, I think at some point I used to feel guilty about some of that, or a little shame. Guilt and shame.
Both.
Both. Yeah. So I used to feel that, but like I've had to practice that skill in order to get better at receiving and acknowledging that sometimes simply showing gratitude and just doing the best that you can when you can is good enough. And I think sometimes I still tussle with that.
Yeah, I think also appreciation is essentially seeing somebody that you value them and just noticing them. I think that's one of the best way to connect with somebody because it shows that they matter, right? So it's like appreciation is like water for the relationship. So if there's no water, the plants dry up. And that's the same thing with relationship. Without appreciation, the relationship also dry up.
That's right. Water your garden, fellas. Water your garden, fellas. Ladies, you don't got to worry. I'm just kidding. Everybody water your garden. Water your garden. Water each other.
Water them up.
Okay, cool. So I want to briefly touch on all of these, how they all relate to human interaction, obviously, because all the examples we gave were maybe about ourselves or maybe direct, but let's go straight to blame first. So blame, number one, obviously, what is that going to do for your connection? Blaming somebody else and wanting to be right. I'm blaming you right now, person. Listen, I'm blaming you for some reason. I'm sure you're not going to like whatever I'm blaming you for. It doesn't even matter. I might be blaming you for being awesome and having a beautiful smile and making my day better. But if I say it like I'm blaming you and it's your fault that something's happening, we're probably going to have a bad response.
Exactly. What do you have for second one? Emotional resilience.
For emotional resilience, I think this is important when you're having hard conversations with people. I think that's an easy one. So for ourselves, being able to navigate stuff, it makes a difference in how we can show up. Like we said in the previous episode where we talked about being present, it's hard for us to be present while we're constantly feeling with discomfort if we don't have any resilience or know how to deal with or sit in discomfort.
Right. Yeah.
But especially when you're going to have a conversation with somebody, it might not be a hard conversation. It might just be talking about a boundary or, hey, we talked about this and not wanting to bring up something you agreed upon, not wanting to ask, maybe not wanting to receive or wanting to receive, but being afraid to ask.
Right.
All these things, they're going to bring up some discomfort. So practicing emotional resilience is going to make a difference because when we're unable to navigate discomfort, I was going to say uncomfortable situations or discomfort, it stops us from having conversations that open up the door and feed vulnerability.
100%. And our last topic is appreciation. How is this connected?
That's an easy one. We did that one. Water, everyone feels better when you show some gratitude or appreciation. Everybody wants to feel appreciated.
Yeah.
There's nobody who is going to be hurt for feeling like someone is grateful for them.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be big. It could be as simple as, hey, you have a great haircut. You know what I'm saying?
Thank
just
you.
showing up consistently, putting up the work, things like that.
Yeah, or thank you for your smile today. That just made me smile. Or I can tell by what you said. I just want to thank you for the energy you're putting out in the world and thank you for the good stuff you're doing. Anything small, any little thing, showing appreciation, you never know kind of that might do for you in your future.
Exactly.
All right, awesome. Well, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Vaughn, do you have any thoughts for them?
Don't forget to subscribe, comment. What do you guys think?
All right, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Have a great one.